Welcome, viewers. I am Shanae Trotz, and today I'll be your host for a podcast brought to you by the Rights of the Child Commission and UNICEF. Today I'm here with Miss Dana Waite, who is our child development specialist. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
So today we'll dive into a little about what is early childhood development, how critical it is, and what are some of the stages of development in children, and how parents can support this development. So you can begin by telling us a little bit of what is childhood development.
Okay, so when we talk about early childhood development, or ECD as we say, it more or less refers to the holistic development of a child. Typically, it starts at birth and will run to the early years, so from birth around age 8. But we primarily focus on the first 5 years. So, what makes this period particularly important is that the brain is developing at a rapid rate. Neuron connections are happening every second, and this is very, very important to the child's development. That's why it's important that the child is exposed to an environment that is stimulating, is healthy, has the child is exposed to good nutrition, and is in an environment where the child is being cared for adequately.
And my question to that is, what would happen if those elements are missing to aid in a child's development?
It could be really bad. I'm quite sure you've heard of the statement or the saying we have in the Caribbean that says it takes a nation to build a
Yes,
child, or it takes a village to
village to
raise a
raise a
child.
child.
That's because if we don't have good stimulation, if we don't, the child isn't exposed to good nutrition, if the child is not protected, most importantly as well, if the child doesn't feel secure, then that could hinder the child's development. Education of a child and the development of a child is not just focused on the child's physical outlook, but it's more than that. They need to be protected, they need to be stimulated, they need to be cared for to ensure that they grow. And we've seen the results of that. Studies have shown that children who, in the early childhood stages, who have been exposed to good stimulation, protection, they feel safe and nurtured, responsive caregiving, they are likely to do better than children who have not been exposed. And that also has outcomes not only for the child's educational outlook and their well being, but also for their health as well, because nutrition in the early years is very important. It also has potential to have economic impact on a family or an environment later on in life, because that also adds um, in that particular area when we talk about early childhood development. So it's critical the child's holistic development is taken into consideration. Their physical development, their cognitive development, their language development, their social development, as well as their emotional well being. And through all of that, it's important that that child is protected, that child is secure, and that child feels loved.
Wow, that's a lot of information. It reminds me of the Rights of the Child Commission, who would monitor and inspect these early childhood centers. Why do you think it's important for these centers to be inspected and for the Rights of the Child Commission to ensure that it's a safe space for them to be developed? Why are early childhood institutions so important?
Early childhood education is the foundation for life. If a child is not safe, if a child is not secure, if a child is not adequately stimulated, then you find that that child will be not given the best possible opportunity to be his or her best self. So the Rights of a Child Commission, being an institution that focuses on ensuring that children's rights are upheld, is primarily important, not only for the child's development, but for our nation's development as well.
Yes, yes, I definitely agree. What are the key stages of development in children, in young children?
When we talk about key stages of development, that is something that I think everybody should be exposed to
Yes.
and understand, simply because when we know what those stages are, then we are better able to plan for and support learning, especially in early childhood environments or spaces. So I would follow the school of thought and probably categorize them into three basic areas. The first area would be the foundation stage. The foundation stage starts at age at birth and goes to about 12 months or 1 year, the child's first birthday. During that stage, the child is primarily dependent on caregivers
Yes.
for support for the development. So it's important that they are stimulated, that they are loved, that they feel encouraged, that they feel a sense of security.
Yes.
So physically, you'll see babies starting to lift their head or crawl. You see some of them starting to sit up, and some children before their first birthday might even start walking.
Yeah.
Cognitively, a lot is happening, especially through their senses. So they would like to touch, and they would through their sense of taste and seeing and smelling. A lot is happening. So it's really important that caregivers are aware of this and can provide an environment that stimulates the child's development. So playing games as simple as peekaboo,
Oh.
which is really great because it helps the child to form attachments as well as to have fun and also to understand the concept of permanence as well. So that would be the first stage, birth to about year one, the foundation stage where primary caregivers are very important. The second stage would be the people call it a toddler stage. I like to refer to it as the exploration stage. So from age 1 to 3 would be the second stage, and we refer to that stage as the exploration stage. During that time, we would refer to our children as in that stage as toddlers, and they are exploring. They are in every crease, every corner. They can find the tiniest thing on the ground, and here they are learning at a rapid rate and developing at a rapid rate as well. So physically now they're walking, they're jumping, they're skipping, they're hopping, they're moving around, they're investigating, they're exploring. Cognitively, their language and their problem solving skills explode as well. So you'll find children are asking now more questions. They have phrases that they use, and some of them have also started to advance into sentences and so on. Also, at this stage, you'll find that they may be emotionally starting to regulate themselves. So you'll find lots of big expressions like tantrums, frustrations, and excitement. So it's important that the environment that the child is in is understanding of that. When I say the environment, I'm speaking about the family. I'm speaking about the caregiver. I'm speaking about the daycare facility. The child is at the daycare facility or the home. It must be an environment that promotes the child's learning and exploration in a safe and responsible way as well. They're also playing and developing socially, and you would find them playing and becoming friendly with children. Now, that play most times can be a parallel play where they're playing alongside children, but you see them, starting to take interest and developing little friendships and things like that.
Wow.
The third stage would be the school readiness stage, which typically starts at age 3 and goes around age 5. And here, so much is happening. Their independence is what this stage really builds on. So, physically, they're able to do much more. They're refining their large muscle development, their fine muscle development. So now they're interested in holding crayons and pencils. They're interested in feeding themselves. Um, Cognitively, you'll see they're interested in problem solving and telling stories and role playing. So I'm quite sure parents would have seen their children pretending to be them, walking around in mommy and daddy's shoes and things like that. So they're really not only exploring, but asserting their independence and trying to understand the world around them. Language also is developing at a rapid rate at this stage as well, because they're not just talking, but now they can retell stories and they can role play and they can do so much more. Emotionally as well, they're still regulating their feelings. So you still have some tantrums at this age. So it's so important for parents and caregivers to create an environment where they can support a child. I remember when my children were going through this stage, I have two kids. Nathan is 10 and Nia is 8. And when they were in this school readiness stage, one of the things that was exciting and so also sometimes frustrating as a parent was the many questions. So
Yes.
why this? Why do I have to do that? Why do I have to have this for breakfast? Why can't I have chocolates?
Yeah.
So, this is a really an important stage, and this stage really prepares the child for the world
Yes.
because cognitively they're being stimulated, socially, emotionally, they're developing, refining those skills. So, it's important again for them to be in an environment that promotes not only the development of the holistic child, but they're nurtured, they're cared for, and of course, they should be healthy and safe.
Yes, that was a wealth of information, and I'm sure our viewers now are aware of what the key stages are. And what if someone is viewing this and thinking, what if my child passed stage 2 and is still delayed in their progression? What advice would you give to that parent? What is that indicating if a child's development is delayed?
One thing to be really cognitive of as a parent or as a caregiver, anybody working with young children, is the fact that children develop at their own rate and at their own pace. So one child might be walking before they are 1 year, but at 1 year, another child may not be walking.
Yeah.
So what we have are in the ECD world are milestones. So
Mhm.
within a particular age range or within a particular period, we expect children to be doing
Mhm.
certain things. And if they have not met those guidelines, then it's important that we speak with our pediatrician or talk to our clinic advisor or speak to the nurses or clinic or community clinics as well. A good indicator for parents would be their clinic cards.
Okay.
There's a milestone checklist at the back there that the nurses and doctors would typically use. And parents can also look at that to say, okay, my child is 9 months old, and I've noticed that he or she is not babbling, or my child is 2 years old and has not said any words as yet. So those are things to note. So speaking with your parents can ensure that when they go to clinic, when they engage with their healthcare providers, to talk to them about your child's progress. Find out if you go to clinic, is my child progressing the way he or she should be progressing? When the nurses and doctors ask the parents, because they do ask, because they do check on the holistic development of the child, when they ask questions about what your child is doing, have they done this, have they met this particular milestone, it's so important for parents to also be honest. Because if you know where your child is, then you are better able to get support, to get advice on how you can better support a child to meet his or her milestone. But again, it's so important to remember that each child develops at his or her own rate or pace. To just ensure that child was within that milestone is really important.
So the Rights of the Child Commission mentioned one of their problems or the complaints that they receive from these teachers of the early childhood institutions is that the parents are in denial when it comes to their children being delayed in or showing signs of speech implications. So what advice would you give to parents?
Yeah, as a parent and working with parents for an extensive period of time, I would say this. First of all, no parent wants to hear that his or her child is not developing in quote unquote what we would call the normal spectrum of development. So that's difficult for a parent to hear. So what's important is one, first of all, knowing how to have those conversations.
Yes.
So, as a parent, it's important that when you go to your healthcare providers, when you go to your routine clinic visits, that you ask questions, first of all. And one of the questions you should be asking is my child progressing at the expected developmental rate for his or her age? Also, it's important that parents have a very good relationship with their care providers, be it the daycares, be it the nursery schools, so you can have an understanding of where your child is at in relation to what the expected outcome should be for that child at a particular time. Once you are aware of that, then you can again make informed decisions. So if I am if I have a child who is not meeting those milestones, then I'm getting that information early on.
Yes.
And early intervention is very key in developmental milestones. So that's primarily important. Also, parents and caregivers need to be remembered that the child has a right
Yes.
to health and
Yes.
health care, which means that it is important that when they do go to the um, healthcare centers, when they do go to the and have parent conference or meetings or check-ins with care providers, that they're checking on the child's progression as well,
Yeah.
because the child is within that space for a number of hours. Also, parents can also use the checklists that they
Mhm.
have at the back of the clinic card, as mentioned earlier, to see where the children are at, and then to reach out to their healthcare providers to say, this is where my child should be according to the developmental age. He or she is not there. What can I do? And there are referral systems. There are referral systems within the healthcare system as well as the education system if the child is not meeting a particular milestone, or if parents need more help in supporting that child to get to that milestone.
Okay, and for the parents and caregivers watching, what advice or what activities can they do at home to help facilitate the development of children?
First off, it's important for parents to remember that you are your child's first teachers. You are your child's first teachers. So it's important that you continue that 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 momentum, continue that job as teaching your children. Now, I know you might think to yourself, I don't know anything about teaching. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do it. The first thing you can do is to continue talking, not to, but with
With,
your
yes,
children. Yes. So as early as when they are babies, when you are bathing them, you can talk to them. Talk to them about what you're doing. Narrate what's happening. Oh, today we're bathing you, and I'm washing your arm, and this is your leg, and this is your little nose. Talk with your children. When your child starts to coo and bab and babble, again, continue that conversation. People, sometimes underestimate the importance of language,
yes,
the importance of making that connection. When you keep talking with them, it not only helps them to form attachments, it not only helps them to feel secure in the environment, but it also stimulates the brain. It
yes,
also encourages their language development, and it helps them to make sense of the language
yes,
that they are in, the language that they are living in, the language that they've been born into. So that's really important. So my first take would be to talk with your children. And this is for both parents and caregivers. I know you might say, oh, I have 3 children I'm looking at. It's difficult to talk with them. When you're changing them, talk with them.
yes,
Um, Life has continued to grow um, in this world in such a way where technology is a big influence
yes,
in everything that we do. So there's a lot of resources out online that parents can reach out and use. But also it's important for sometimes for us to remove those technology bits and pieces and interact with our children.
yes.
So I know we use a lot of technology where they watch videos
YouTube,
and YouTube, and all of that is, has its place, but it's also important for that child to have that interaction with their
yes,
parents. I know parents are also busy because
yes,
you have to work and you have to come home and caregive, and that is good, but it's finding those meaningful moments. So when you're making dinner, have the kids inside the kitchen with you, help them to narrate what's happening. Oh, mommy's now putting on the butter on the bread, or oh, no, mommy's now stirring my milk and my chocolate to make my tea. Also, have them be part of that.
yes,
Have them be involved in the process so they can help you out in the kitchen as well. And I know sometimes it's going to be messy. I know sometimes it's going to take longer because they're involved. But those meaningful connections really builds and adds, and those are a great way for you to interact with your children. If you're going to the farm,
yes,
talk about what you're seeing along the way. Talk about how green the grass is, and how yellow the flowers are, and how blue the birds are. Point out the animals, to point out the shapes of things in the environment when you are having your meals and babies eating.
mhm,
Talk about today we're having pumpkin and potato with fish, and talk about the colors that we're eating today, talk
Yeah.
about the texture, talk about how yummy the food is, some I know some parents might do airplanes with the spoon before it
Yes.
gets into the baby's mouth. Help the child to make that spatial awareness. Play games when you can, in the pond, out the pond. That helps with their physical development. So there's so much that parents can do. And if you're a parent and you're not sure, then just ask.
Yes.
Reach out to your healthcare providers, so the nurses at your community clinics, or the doctors or the pediatricians also will be able to provide some support. Also, sing with your children.
Mhm.
I know you might think, oh, I don't have such a wonderful voice. I got a frog stuck in there, but children do not care what you sound like.
Mhm.
They don't have that to say, oh, mom, you're not a very good singer. No. They just like to hear the melody, the changes in your voice, the tones going up and down, the repetition of the words, and stuff like that. Read with your children and to your children. And if you say, well, oh, I'm a parent, but I can't read, that's fine. Then do a picture talk with your children. Open the book and talk about what's in the book. Talk about the pictures, talk about the colors. Ask the child, what do you think will happen next? Will the mongoose be able to find back his lost sock, whatever the case might be? So reading with your children, talking about pictures if you want to do that instead, singing with them, and of course, most importantly, I would say is just being an engaging and responsive caregiving. So just loving on them, hugs, um, words of affirmation. You are great, you're amazing. When a child does an activity and you believe that they did it well and you're happy with the results, praise the activity that the child would have done and not the child. So you shouldn't be saying, oh, good job, Shaniza. Instead, if Shaniza would have maybe put her shoes in the corner, oh, Shaniza, thank you for putting your shoes in the corner. Because if I don't put my shoes in the corner, am I a bad girl? Am I a bad boy?
Mhm.
So it's so important to praise the activity,
Mhm.
praise the effort, and not the child by saying, good boy, good girl.
Mhm.
Just, focus on what they would have done. Good job packing away your shoes. Good job packing away your toys. Thank you for putting away that, or thank you so much for bringing the umbrella, whatever the case might be. So it's so important for parents to really engage with their children at home, regardless of how busy they are.
Can some of these activities start even while the child is in the womb?
I would say yes. It's so important that we read to the child when the child's in the womb. And when I say read, not just mommy reading, daddy can read as well, because the child can hear. So hearing that voice is also can also be soothing or stimulating. Singing or humming as well have
Mhm.
also been proven activities that can support that child's development, even when the child is in the womb. Light exercises as well, once that mother has been cleared for that. So there's so much that can be done. While early childhood typically starts at age 1, um, the typically starts at birth, sorry, and goes up until age 8. We focus a lot also on the first 1,000 days,
Okay.
and the first 1,000 days actually happened at conception.
Wow.
So as soon as the child is conceived, as soon as sperm hits egg, and we have that conception starts,
Yes.
the first 1,000 days starts, and it typically starts at conception and goes to about age 2, to the child's second birthday. And again, amazing time for rapid growth and development, and so much is happening, so much that parents can do. Um, so yeah, the household is just really important in ensuring that we have strong, healthy, and nurtured and loved early childhood children.
Wow, that is very important information. I hope that the parents and caregivers watching this pay keen attention and apply some of the activities in their daily lives. It doesn't just have to be your child. If you have brothers, sisters, young siblings at home, you could also apply those skills. As we come to a close, I would just like to ask for Miss Dana to just give us a final word of advice or inspiration.
All right. If I have to leave you with anything, it would be this. The early childhood years are a magical time for rapid growth and development, And so much happens here. It's really a critical time for parents and caregivers to really nurture the holistic child. I know sometimes we are focused on pencil, on academic achievements, but it's more than just that. It's important that for that child to have a strong play-based environment, because really and truly, play is the vehicle through which children learn. When children play, they are problem solving. When children play, they are making sense of the world. When children play, they are using their imagination. When children play, they are cognitively stimulating their brain cells. When children play, they are preparing to understand the world ahead of them. So play is purposeful. Play is important. Play is the vehicle through which children learn. And many times we, as parents and caregivers, we believe that play is useless. Not in the early years. Play is the vehicle through which children learn.
Yeah.
So it's important for us to ensure and create opportunities for play. I would also like to say that what we do or do not do within these early years are so important to the development of a child. And it is important that we take time not only to understand, where our children are at or what is happening, but also take time to celebrate that
Yes.
child and to encourage and nurture them, providing a loving and healthy home so that child can become his or her best self.
Thank you very much, Ms. Dana. Thank you to our viewers for stay tuned and watching our podcast. Again, I am Shani Trotz, and this podcast was brought to you by the UNICEF and Right of the Child Commission. Thank you.